Hello there, welcome back to another week of shows. I'm going to say straight away, I'm taking a week off next week from doing these videos. Just a week off. I'm trying to catch up on plans for the future videos. I'm a bit behind, so I'll take next week off. I've started a podcast with Solitary Ronin coming up on Sunday, so there'll be that. We'll see what else I can get. I mean, I've got another planned podcast with another creator I'm waiting to arrange. So I'm hoping that will come up very soon. But I'm just taking a week off to catch up. I'm a little behind. I'm now in the dregs of everything I've seen that is worth talking about. So that's where we are. So I'm going to start off with An Elephant Sitting Still, which is a film by Hubo, who tragically died after completing the film by suicide. Now, there was stresses involved because the producer wanted to cut the film down, but you can never just justify suicide as one thing. There's probably a bunch of things that caused it, probably just not the film. It's a real shame because this guy was a real talent. I mean, this film is just wonderful, but it is very bleak. When you see this film and you told the director killed himself later, it's not a surprise. It really is not a surprise because there is a genuine bleakness below the surface to this film that is hard to deny. It's just there. It's just something that doesn't really have much faith in humanity as an organisation group. It's like it shows you again and again how stupid decisions, how mean, nasty decisions made by people who I put no thought into it. It's not like it's malicious, like, I'm going to get this person. It's like thoughtlessness, bad organisation, people not thinking ahead. All of that stuff is what destroys everybody's lives. It's nothing to do with malice. It's people thinking they can get away with something, who see the system as broken, corrupt, and it's something that they can do with for their own good. Now, it's set in China, and all this film does is show that China is just as dysfunctional as everywhere else. It's got the same problems, the same thing of people feeling like they've been left out and there's no future for them. Education system is not worth a damn for anybody who's not going to... Well, but anybody really, because it's a poor neighbourhood, so everyone wants to get their kids into a school that's not poor. They're trying to... So, I mean, one of the subplots of this is try to get a child into a good school, which you see in Western countries too. Try to get a good school. If you're in a bad school, you'll be with students who don't care, with teachers who don't care, so your chances of actually getting through school and actually getting to a university is pretty much dead. So these are all the poor kids who no one expects much from. Everyone expects them, the guy who's in charge, the dean or the assistant dean or whatever, he just says, like, most of them become street vendors. It's like, who cares? Like, he doesn't care. He's doing the job. The school's going to close down. He's going to go to a better school and have a better office. But he doesn't care. He just churning them through year by year. And the whole system's set up that way. So the actual plot is actually about four characters who are trying to survive that system. I mean, the title An Elephant Sitting Still is based on the idea of there's an elephant in a zoo who's sitting still, doesn't do anything. He just sits still. That's it. It's almost like a perfect being of contemplation. And a lot of the characters, when you see it involved in this film, there's only a few. Most people just say, well, why would you want to see that? Who cares? They get on with their life. It's just a few souls who find it interesting, who think, and I'm not even sure why they want to see it. I mean, if I asked them, why do you want to go there? I don't know. I just want to see it. It's like, even your main characters, your characters you're meant to identify with, and who are going through a lot of struggles, they have a kind of vacancy in their souls as well. They do things that they can't articulate why they do them, and they do it with a shrug at times, even though you know there's more there. But the feeling throughout the film is really of people being complacent. I mean, see, one character is a gangster who has slept with the wife of his best friend, and his best friend finds out and commits suicide. And he has to, because his family are all tied together within this crime family, he has to deal with it. She didn't know he was there, she didn't know it was his fault. and he says he's heartless, and he just says he doesn't care. But obviously he does care. Isn't heartless, but he is dealing with. He's trying to deal with the mix of distance he needs for his job and what's actually going on in his soul as he looks around and sees people being horrible and horrific, and he's not helping much but doing his job and doing what he does. Yeah, then you've got an old man whose family want to put him in a home so they can afford to go to a better district, so they can put their child into a better school. Therefore, they'll have a chance for a better life. And he doesn't want to go into home. He also doesn't want to go into home, but he can't find any real arguments going, I don't want to go. And it's his story as he tries to contemplate what's going on, because the only person who seems to care about him is his granddaughter. And it's like, am I going to make a sacrifice for her? Because she's the only one who cares. She's the only one who understands. Like, the other ones are his daughter and his son-in-law both seem to be fairly heartless to our point of view, but you're just seeing them from his point of view, really. I mean, you don't spend enough time to really judge them, but they do seem to be kind of vacant and focused on their own needs, really, and a bit selfish. But they're by far not the worst examples of humanity. I mean, at least theirs is kind of reasonable. It's not. I disagree with it, but you can see where they're coming from with that one. The third story is about this boy who's in school. He's trying to help his friend out. He's getting bullied by this bully who's the brother of the gangster we see. And the brother says his phone was stolen and this guy stole it. And the guy says, I didn't steal your phone. So his friend, who's a protagonist, comes and helps him. And during a scuffle, the kid falls down with the gangster's brother, falls down the stairs and gets seriously injured, and forcing the kid, who was just to the side of this issue, to go on the run. So that's his problem. He has to go on the run. He has to deal with his family from a distance and try to work out what he wants to do with his life. And finally, you've got a schoolgirl who's the same age, so they're both about 16, 17. She just turned 17. She had an alcoholic mother who self-justifies everything. And she's also having an affair with the assistant dean as well. Even though she knows it's a terrible idea, she does say he listens to her rather than a mum who doesn't seem to care. And so it's all these four lives, all throughout one day. This film takes place pretty much over 24 hours. So you start in the morning and it goes through to what seems like the next morning. That's it, 24 hours. And everything interconnects in a way that could be soap opera-ish, but it's actually just a sense of these interconnected lives of people who... Their lives are just messy because they're in the same social circle. They kind of know each other mostly, but apart from the gangster, but they don't know each other's plight that much. There is some distance. But what this film actually does, I don't want to go into how everything interrelates entirely. Just to say it all interrelates, but it is a 4-hour-long film, and it's a slow-paced film, and you take your time with the characters. There's always enough happening to keep you interested, to keep you going, and the pacing is wonderful. It does not feel like 4 hours long. For a start, it does not feel like a 4-hour-long film. Because the characters are interesting, and the world's interesting, and the way he sets up China in a very unsentimental way. This is not the utopian society that we're getting told about from the Chinese government. This is just a normal society that we have in every country that the media never looks at. The poor, the working poor, basically. The people who have always looked down upon as being scumbags, the street vendors, the people who's are middle-class families but they're struggling to survive. I mean, every character, as it goes on, you get to see their point of view. You get a sense of what drives them and what drives the people they interact with. But it doesn't mean it's sympathetic, because sometimes you actually see the person, like the alcoholic mother of the young woman in the film, justifies herself a little, but it's completely unsympathetic because actually it's a case of you're trying to justify selfishness, basic selfishness. And it's like, it's just, it's what you'd actually see in real life, someone justifying themselves, and you're going, I'm not convinced at all. And this film just shows you that, rather than having any sentimental music to say you're meant to believe this. It's just like, this is what they're saying they're about. And because the way it's directed, you know, they're lying to themselves and they're trying to justify bad actions. I mean, you see that a lot with the lead gangster character. He has to hunt down, because his brother was a person injured, he has to hunt down the boy throughout the film. And he can't stand it. He could not stand his brother. He just thought it was a waste of space. And there's a suggestion he bullied his brother, and that's what made his brother worse as a bully. And he's trying to justify himself, justify sleeping with his best friend's wife, and try to justify everything that he's doing. And it turns out he had a bad breakup and he's still not quite over it. But he's trying to justify a lot of stuff. And it doesn't really take, because he knows he's guilty as hell, and everyone else knows he's guilty as hell. And he doesn't even know what he wants. He just wants out in some way, but he doesn't know why or where or what to do. And as people who have travelled around have said, wherever you go, everywhere's the same. Like you might try and travel around and find somewhere new, but it's exactly the same. Life's just hellish wherever you go. There's no ideal place to go to survive. There's people that's everywhere, and that's the kind of message of the film is. It's tough. It's a really tough life. But the film has a grace note. It's not like a drudgery or anything. You're stuck with these four characters, but they're all interesting characters. You get to see the plight. You get to see the old man as he goes to visit the old folks home. And you find out the old folks home in this area is basically the poor old folks home with people who don't have any money to go to, and it's hellish. They just sit in a chair all day, being ignored. It's like, yeah, there's people waiting to die. And you see this plight that he wants to help his granddaughter, but he doesn't want to go there. But he's kind of resigned to the fact that he's going to get sent there no matter what he thinks. He's going to get dumped, and he's going to just go there and die, and that's it. Like, nobody cares. And you have the character, the young woman, who is trying to she's dealing with an alcoholic mother who's, in her existence with his mother, is pretty hellish. So she's always trying to get her mother to do stuff to keep the house running. But the mother's just drunk most of the time. And the mother, whenever the mother does anything for her, it's almost like a major achievement for the mother that she lords over it. So she's trying to find some love somewhere, but she's finding all the wrong places. And this film's very unsentimental with that. It's just like, this is a phenomenon that exists. It's not something made up in romantic movies. It exists. People do this. But it's usually fairly tragic and fairly dark and twisted, and people are doing stuff for selfish reasons. And this is probably the most sympathetic character in the film, is because she is tough. She's probably, her and Old Man are probably the two of the most self-aware of the two characters. Even though they've got lots of blind spots, at least they're less sentimental with themselves. Like the older gangster and the younger boy do have a kind of weird sentimentality with themselves that's kind of interesting. It's kind of showing you the kind of fragile male ego in a kind of dehumanising world, and how they're trying to survive. They don't have that kind of no-nonsense feel where they can be no-nonsense but also be sympathetic to people. They can, they get the young woman and the old man, try and help out, but they know things are going to go bad. They're just slightly more self-aware, even though they're making mistakes and doing things that are wrong for them. They're making a mess of their lives, but they're trying something. The other two are just like falling into despair, and they don't quite know where to go and how to move on. But it's still funny how it happens, and it's still sympathetic and interesting. It's just, in a sense that the younger guy and the gangster are both. They both have a bit of like romantic self-pity, self-romanticization about themselves and the plight. Even though the younger guy, the boy, or he's a teenager, but he's going towards manhood. Even though he is, he's in a lot of problems, but he never helps himself. He jumps into something by protecting his friend, but not asking the difficult questions of his friend in the first place. He's just trying to prove himself that he's not a loser like his father. And he's just, like, a lot of the decisions are made start from him that cause this a lot of spiral, and I mean, because he doesn't pay attention enough. And, you know, there's that thing, is like, we're seeing these other characters don't pay attention, but the central characters do the same thing. You're seeing the film from their point of view. There's other characters who are terrific in it. There's like this couple looking for a dog, and the dog's a rabid monster. And it's always been spoiled rotten by these two selfish gets, and they are astonishingly selfish. The assistant dean is astonishingly selfish and self-regarding, and he's sleeping with a student, but apparently it's her fault for snaring him, even though he knew what he was doing. He was the mature adult of the two. And after he is caught, his wife gets on the case, and she's causing havoc as well, because basically he's ruined their lives. And it's just a self-justification for your own bad behaviour, and how it's always someone else's fault, even though you should have known better. And there's that thing you see throughout the film, but it's looked upon not in a melodramatic way. It's looked upon as a just coldly, as if to, this is what happens, this is what we're like. I'm not going to give you the excuse of self-justification. The way the characters are doing this to themselves, but the film's not going to give you that excuse. And have over 4 hours, you get a chance to see all the characters interact in good and bad ways, and see the flaws and see their good points, but also see they're all in a bad situation and they're all self-destructive, and they're never going to live up to their own ideals, but they're trying in their own way, and some of them are failing badly. So this is a wonderful film. The acting's terrific all round. There's not a bad performance. The mood's terrific. It goes for 4 hours with what could be a slight story, and just keeps delivering again and again. The film, I would suggest, I mean, it's kind of like an Altman film, but a lot more cooler, and there's less characters, but that's a sense of a wandering between characters. It's not an ensemble film, but it is wandering between characters, the way that Altman used to do. There is that kind of quality to it. And there's a centralist quality that I really like, but it can infuriate some people. So I don't want to say any more about it. Just go see it. It's wonderful. It really is wonderful. And you're really going to wish that you have seen more of this director, because this is a really amazing film. And it's sad this is the only one we're going to get. But we should be happy we get this one, because this is a masterpiece. So I hope you enjoyed this. I'll be back soon with some more videos. Right, bye for now.